Hey, everybody. Welcome back once again to the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, coming to you as always from the Retro Wrestling Archive here in beautiful Gadsden, Alabama. Producer Smokey's back behind the scenes making things happen. And hey, we've got a very special episode for you this week. It's spring break this week. We're taking the week off, got some things to do. But as you always know, we don't leave you hanging. Anytime we've got a holiday or something in the past where we couldn't do a normal show, I've always made it a point to track down somebody involved with USWA and interview them and talk about their time, especially in the time frame we're in. Of course, that's 1991. But this time, BT beat me to the punch. BT tracked down Rockin Randy. Of course, we've been talking about Rockin Randy recently a lot in the most recent episode, the whole deal with Miss Texas. There was the question of whether or not he was one of the Goons. A lot of talk of Rockin Randy lately. So BT was able to track him down, get a hold of him, and they had a great interview that will tell you everything you could ever need to know about Rockin Randy and his time in USWA in 1991. So that's what this episode is going to be. I really enjoyed the interview. I learned a lot about Rockin Randy and a few things about what was going on in this era of USWA that we're currently covering. So I hope you check this out. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And also, while I've got your attention here for a moment, I just want to remind everybody, don't forget, coming up, April 18th, there will be the debut of our brand new Retro Wrestling Review Power Pro podcast. And I will be joined by BT and Rob Helt. And each week we're going to watch and review an episode of Power Pro Wrestling, just like what we do here for USWA. And we're doing all of them. We're starting at episode 1 and we're going all the way through all 151 episodes. And we'll be reviewing them each week. Make sure you check that out and stick around for this interview. And we'll see you next week.
Hey, we're live from 304 Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is an stspod.club production and also a Jackson Media Creations. This is part of our Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. We just got done watching a show, and I reached out to Rockin Randy. How you doing, Randy?
Happy as if I had my right mind. Well, thank you.
Hey, my friends call me BT, so I know
okay.
that's I'm Will on Facebook because of a job I had. I had to make sure people knew who I was.
Got
I on this show on the flagship show, I usually bring on people either I know or people I don't know. But I really bringing you on to talk about the angle you did with Miss Texas, because I just asked you a question. You like, oh, this is a long story.
it.
But first, tell me about, because I have some roots in Minnesota. One of my best friends of all time moved up there from the South, from the Jonesboro, Missouri area. He moved up to Minnesota 30 years ago. And I've been up there a couple of times, and I went to one of, I believe Ed Sharkey was the one running the show. The commentator was Ray Webby, and I do know the 1-2-3 Kid and some other guys worked that show. But were you trained by Sharkey?
No.
No. That's what it says on the internet, but you can't believe everything. So
yeah, that's what I wanted to say to you in regards to like results and dates from back then. There's a lot of room for error. Like I've had arguments with people that told me I was here and wrestled that guy, and I'm like, that never happened. No, I saw it. I'm like, I don't have that great a memory, but that never happened.
Right. My memory. So where did you, number one, growing up as a fan, did you grow up and you just love wrestling, or was it just something that fell in your lap?
as soon as I had figured out what that UHF channel did in my little television, I found wrestling in
Right on.
Chicagoland. And the top stars were Vern Gagne, Dick the Bruiser, and the Crusher, and the Valiant Brothers.
And you saw that and said, "Hey, I got to be part of this."
Handsome Jimmy was on his knees, covered in blood and that beautiful platinum hair, begging Bruiser, no, no. I said, oh my God, I got to do that.
Now, where did you go to train at? Were you say in Chicago?
Yeah, I broke in Chicago and I was piss poor trained. And I wish these indie guys would get it today, but I was messing around over there for a year, had my first match before I realized and had to swallow that giant pill. I had no idea what the F I was doing. I had to be retrained. So, in this area, and the only people that had a ring at the time was Windy City Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I remember Windy City. Yeah.
So I broke in there, and Sam DeCero likes to take credit for training me, but I've been in the ring with that guy maybe twice. Sonny Rogers took me under his wing, and I got real lucky. Then from there, Mr. Electricity Steve Regal, which when I was a kid I saw his first match, a 10-minute time limit draw with Max Blue for Bruiser, really liked me and picked me out one night to work with me instead of a big guy because he said, I can't work with the 7-foot, 400-pounder. What am I going to do with him? So I worked the opener, and I had a clue, but I'll be damned if Steve didn't take me to a 20-minute match, and the people came back the next month to see the rematch.
Oh wow, yeah, that had to be something where, and he was just walking you through it, walking and talking as y'all went through that, right?
Oh my God. I bet you to this day, I still think to myself, what the hell happened? How did he do that? So that being said, I started to get my name out there via Tom Rocky Stone. You remember Tom Stone?
I do.
Tom would get me booked for the AWA and for WWF. And Sam would have a fit over it, and Steve would say, make the money. And then one day, Pat Tanaka, who was doing the Bad Company thing for Vern, he kept coming up 2 or 3 times, compliment me on a big bump or something I did that stood out, just doing jobs. And I finally said, well, now or never. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You seem to have interest in me. How in the hell do I really go out there and learn this? So Pat
Right.
took a deep breath and said, you sure? I said, I'm sure. He said, well, we could get you out. I could get you out with Don Owens. They're only wrestling 4 times a week, but the money's about $400 a week for an undercard guy. Or I could get you down in Memphis. You'll work every night and twice on Saturdays, and you'll make $350, but you'll learn. I said, well, sign me up for Memphis. Pat sends a picture to Jarrett, tells him I'm 6'2", 280 pounds, where in reality I was about 200 pounds, but I looked really big in the pic. And I showed up after superstar Bill Dundee cut a Saturday promo saying he was going to take down the giant from Chicago, Rockin Randy, and then I showed up. Yeah.
So
that
that got you in with Jarrett and them to start working there. So
oh no, I had a target on my back for that bullshit.
Oh wow.
That's the one to tell you. So I was getting some direction from the Texas Hangman, who liked me a lot too. And they said, when you get in there with Bill on that 3-day tryout the first night, grab a hold on him, take over. And I thought, man, I don't know, these guys ribbed me. They might be setting me up to get my ass kicked because Billy was no slouch,
Right. Yeah, I know it.
And I took a deep breath and I took over, and thank God Bill said, hell, mate, you can work. Let's have us a match. So I went down for a 3-day tryout the first time and stayed 9 months.
Yeah.
And now 30 years later, someone went to fact check me, and Bill said, oh, hell yeah. We laughed. First we were pissed, but then we laughed like hell about it and said, what do you do with a guy with balls like that? You put him to work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of stories of people that just want to be in the business like you. Just do what you're told and try your best to get in the business. So you came back to USWA there to there is some confusion, and I was told.
That's what I'm saying.
My partner told me, he said, look, I know you're going to, if you talk to Rockin Randy, there's some questions we're reviewing USWA 1991. You're on the card to come in for Mid-South Coliseum. You're not on the TV show yet, but there's also a new team in on that same day of TV, the Goons, and they're with Boss Winners. So
Yes.
we go looking at who the Goons were. We have 3 names:
Yes.
Rockin Randy, Gary Scott, and
Jamie
Jamie Dundee. So
Yeah.
clear it up for us, Randy. Clear it up.
Okay, so there was 2 original Goons, and I don't know who that manager was. I knew the name, I knew him in passing, but there were 2 Goons for a short stint, and I don't know them fellas. But what I do know is that whatever happened, it didn't get over. And one night I worked babyface, and somebody no showed, and they needed a goon. So I went out with one of the original guys. I said, "Let me do it. Let me do it." They're like, "No, no, you can't work face and heel and blah blah blah." I think it was in Louisville. So I begged to do it. I went out there and worked with old Rob and Jeff Jarrett and dropped the big shit. They were right. But I said, please, one more chance. Tomorrow night will be different. Well, hell, man, they just fell in love with it, and we started having the best matches on the card. Then
Man.
it was a couple of other guys that I don't remember, but finally, Gary Scott was just a kid. He was like 18 years old. He just had so much heart and would make those dates on top of working or full time and all that other stuff. The kid wasn't sleeping, so he just followed my lead with the heel call and the shit, and we had a blast mostly with Jeff Jarrett and Rob.
Do you know what happened to Gary Scott, what he ended up doing? And this goes back to your very first thing you said.
So are you in Jonesboro, Arkansas, or another Jonesboro?
I'm in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and he actually become the Boogie Woogie Boy,
Yes, he
Gary
did. Now that
Valiant.
happened when he was 18, and God bless Gary and his dad. That was a hell of a thing to go from Memphis TV to Jonesboro, and then Jonesboro back to Nashville.
Right.
That sucked. And that's what we had to do. And God bless Gary's dad volunteered to drive with a real nice, comfortable van. And Boogie and Gary just hit it off. And from that point on, I saw the writing on the wall. Boogie really liked Gary because of the heart that he had and just a great human being.
Yeah, cool. Good to hear about Gary. I talked to Gary a couple of times at a convention, and he is just as nice and crazy as he's always been from day one. Just a fun guy.
Oh, I just love the guy. We used to call a guy like that country, and you had to love them because they weren't assholes. They weren't they weren't twisted yet by society.
Right. Yeah, well, us people in the South, there is something there about Southern gentlemen. It's there. It exists. We're taught to, my family taught me to be a nice guy. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and all that. So you're in USWA.
Oh, go ahead. No,
well, you're in USWA and you're doing the spot shows and you're doing the Mid-South Coliseum and you get a TV. It's supposed to be a TV title shot against Tom Prichard.
Texas title, yeah.
So I'm going to go, the Texas title. I'm going to go ahead and play the angle and we'll watch it. And then when we come back, I've got some questions to talk to you about it.
Sure.
Professional wrestling. He should be outlawed from this TV studio, and I cannot defend my Texas championship today.
Randy, did you hear what he said? What do you mean you can't defend this title?
I mean, my head hurts. I mean, I got hit by a trash can. I cannot defend the Texas championship.
Look, man, I'm not a Jerry Lawler or Bill Dundee. These title shots don't grow on trees for me. I don't get one once a month. I've worked a long, hard 3 years for this day. This is supposed to be my day, and I'm ready. Now, I know this. There's a rule in the USWA, if you can't defend that title, I can win it on default. And I'll tell you, man, I've worked long and hard, and I'll do what it takes to get that strap.
Wait a minute, sucker! Did you see Tom Prichard's in pain? You had the nerve to stand out here to challenge him? Well, let me tell you something, you snot no punk. I'll challenge you in the ring. Let me ask you something. Who have you beaten? Who have you beaten? Get in the ring. I challenge you.
Let me tell you something, Baldy. My daddy raised me better than that. He told me never to put my hands on a woman. I'm not going to wrestle you. This is a joke.
Oh, you one of those good boys, huh? Your daddy raised you right? I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Miss Texas, Tom he just smacked him right in the face, and Randy said he's not going to hit a woman. Well, thank goodness Prichard got her, pulling her away. All right. I got them separated. Randy, all right?
Look, man, when you said you weren't going to defend that title, you pulled my heart out. But to humiliate me in front of millions of people by letting that bald-headed pig slap me. I'm about ready to forget you're a woman. You don't look like a woman to me, man.
What? What?
Ooh. Goodness. Oh, no.
You see this woman abuser here?
Oh. Prichard claiming he was in no shape to wrestle, but he's just broken that ice bag over the head of...
And now both of them on top of...
comes some help. Tony Anthony nails Prichard from behind.
Dirty white boy Tony Anthony to the rescue of Rockin Randy.
Look out, Embry in to help out Prichard. Wouldn't you know it? You see one, you see the other one.
And in the meantime, Rockin Randy locked up with Miss Texas. There's Embry and Prichard and Dirty White Boy. Referee Paul Neighbors has been nailed on the floor here, Dave.
Hit by Embry.
We've got to restore some order.
Oh, look out, Prichard. Prichard's got, I think, an ink pen that he's trying to gouge Tony Anthony with. Now it's Prichard and, look out.
This'll even it up.
Here comes an equalizer. Boogie Woogie then nails Embry. Then Prichard.
Handsome Jimmy going to town today. And there's one for Embry into the pole. There goes Prichard over the desk. The desk goes over, Dave. It is a wild melee here now. They've got the chair in the ring. Now you see Dirty White Boy in the ring. There's one for Prichard. If he had a headache before, he's got a big one now. And there's a migraine for Mr. Eric Embry.
Both of them rolled out of the ring as Tony Anthony's reaching for him, and Jimmy Valiant says, I dare you to come on back in here. Look out. They're all down here on the floor again. The battle continues. Rockin Randy working on Miss Texas over there.
This was supposed to be a...
All right, so I got a few questions. Let's start with what was going through your mind when you seen yourself come on the screen to do that angle. What was going, man, that was a long time ago, or what was you thinking about?
The first thing was how svelte I was. So, okay, let me tell you, this you're going to lose your mind. Now, Jarrett really went out of his way for me. The first time I was down there, I'd never bitched about anything.
And that was 1990, right? You came in 1990 to work. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So Jerry all of a sudden out of the blue just started telling me things about the business, about the industry, and I was like, wow, why is he talking to me? You know. But it's the way I carried myself and whatever they wanted me to do, and I put everybody over. But I remember this one night, and it was in Nashville, and Kingfish was supposed to work with Boogie, and they did the whole thing where Kingfish couldn't be there, and you put the hand over the head of what heel they want to work with Kingfish, And Frank Morrell. Frank Morrell was what an outstanding wrestler, what an outstanding referee. I got the biggest ovation, and Frank, who really worked against me up till that point, said, you guys all suck. The guy with the most heat is the one that does the job in the opener every night. From that point on, things really started to work for me, and he went to Jerry on my behalf. So
awesome.
That morning, I got told by Jerry, hey, Randy, what do you think of this? And I'm like, wow, Jerry's asking my opinion or something,
Right. But he laid this angle with Miss Texas out for you?
No.
Oh.
The night before TV, he told me there was a girl coming in from the East Coast who looked exactly like she could be my sister.
Okay.
And it was a 6-week or 12-week program where we were going to do the Miss Texas on me, and then my sister was going to come and save the day, and then we were going to do 6 weeks or 12 weeks or more if it got over, me and my sister working with Embry, Prichard, and Miss Texas. And me and Tom were going to pass that Texas belt back and forth. And I thought, oh my God, am I going to learn?
Yeah,
I got there
especially in
that
the
morning.
ring with Tom Prichard. Jeez, yes.
A half hour before television, the girl didn't show, so we came up with that. I shit myself, man. I never cut a promo before. I'm on live TV. That's what happened.
One of my co-hosts for USWA this week's episode, he said, "Man," he said, "you could tell he's not been on the microphone a lot." And I said, "Well, I don't know if he'd ever been cut a promo or not." I said,
Hell no.
Well, you must have been scared. So what? So Miss Texas is they've almost everyone I talk to, downtown Bruno, other people, they'll tell me
love
that
Bruno.
And Brandon Baxter is a friend of mine, and they'll tell me that Miss Texas is stiff as hell. And
you got to understand something, man. You got to
Okay.
think of it, and you'll get this. Now, nobody before Miss Texas, nobody since Jacqueline Moore paid the kind of dues Jackie paid. Look at what they did with her and shaved her head.
yeah,
Okay?
I know. Yeah,
Truth.
we're big
Truth.
fans of her. Yeah.
She is a black belt in Taekwondo.
Tired of the same boring wrestling podcast? Need something with attitude, chaos, and maybe just a little cussing? That's stspod.club, and we got it all covered. We've got wrestling weirdness with WTF News Desk, 5-minute time limit, and the Southern fried brain of me, BT, steering the whole ship. We also have rolling into Memphis every week about the current Memphis wrestling. Interviews, hot takes, and wrestling outrageousness so wild it might get you banned in 12 states. That's right, it's SDSpod.club, or search all podcast catchers for Shooting the Shiznit, where wrestling podcasts grow chest hair. Not sure what that meant. Love my mama.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here. Lots of new stuff happening here at WrestleCopia. If you haven't checked out our website at WrestleCopia.com, it's a great way to keep up with the latest episodes of all of your favorite Copia programming, from the Wrestling Memory Grenade to Regional Wrestling with the Territory Talk, the Wrestling Stoop with the legendary Bob Roop, and of course all of those programs also available at your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the Copia world, all the latest news, random thoughts, fun videos, pictures, and more, make sure to join the more than 33,000 followers over at Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. Don't be left out. And last but definitely not least, it's what keeps the entire machine going. I'm talking about Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We appreciate your support in helping us pay the bills to keep the WrestleCopia podcast network running and enabling us to continue to bring you all the quality programming that we offer.
If you love old school wrestling, the Retro Wrestling Archive Patreon is where the real treasure is. Get early access to all your favorite Retro Wrestling Archive podcasts and articles before they hit the public feed. Unlock exclusive Patreon-only shows, watch-along videos, and bonus content you won't find anywhere else. And coming soon, the Retro Wrestling Archive Google Drive is expanding in a big way with even more classic wrestling footage, rare media, and archival material for true wrestling history fans. If you're serious about preserving the history of the territories, this is where you belong. Join the Retro Wrestling Archive Patreon today and step inside the archive.
See, we didn't know that. I didn't know that at
she's
all.
legit. She is a legit bad ass, BT. Legit bad ass. Now, you know how kayfabe was back then. I seen guys get fired for going into a restaurant when the baby faces were there.
Sure. Yeah. If you got two people at the same, you got, even when I was in the business, which was years later, we still didn't show up at the arena in the same car. We didn't show up in the same car or something. So we still was kayfabe.
So that being said, there was one spot where we would go when we worked the Memphis side, and we'd stay in Memphis together. And the girl was so good to us, she never told that we would stay there together. Me and Miss Jackie and Boogie and, you know, somebody else.
Right.
And she took such good care of us. But we knew the secret was safe. If that shit got out, we would have been fired, all of us. You know? Oh my God, I got along so swimmingly with Jackie, and I had so much respect for her because of the dues that she'd paid, you know, and was still paying. They let her, that beautiful girl, shaved her head for this shit. Now, we got along so good, and we slept in the same room in sleeping bags at this woman's house, even, you know.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, here comes this storyline. I'm not happy about this storyline. Women weren't wrestling men and vice versa. But on top of that, I really did grow up with a lot of abuse in my home. You know?
Yeah,
So
I can see that. Wow, yeah.
my guts were twisted about doing this shit. Now, that being said, Jarrett stepped in and said, beat the shit out of her. She has beat the shit out of Boogie. She has beat the shit out of Dundee. She has beat the shit out of Jeff. She has beat the shit out of Bruno. She is tough. She is a black belt in Taekwondo. I said, but I don't know, Jerry. I just don't know. Then Boogie did something with a run-in around that time before we had our match, and she almost ripped his beard out. He said, and you know Boogie, the sweetest man in the world. She pulled out beard hair. He said, brother, kick her ass. So me and Jackie aren't talking now. You know, we're not talking now because we weren't staying in the same place, you know.
Right.
There was a dissension starting between Eric Embry, who had the book, and Jarrett, who owned the company.
Right.
I'm in the middle of that shit. Tom Prichard and Eric Embry are telling her, whoop his ass. If you don't whoop his ass, he's going to kill you off. You're going to get fired. I got the guys on the other end telling me, whoop her ass or you're fired. And I'm going, I'm not going to beat the hell out of a woman if I can. Even if I can, you know.
Right.
So that being said, one night, Jerry was there. He said, I heard you haven't been whooping her ass. He threatened to fire me. I did not whoop her ass. I just tied her up, and I got aggressive, and I said, please, Jackie, please, don't fight me. Let's work, because they're telling me to whoop your ass. I know you're tough, but I could take you, and I don't want to. So I tied her up that night. I did not take no cheap shots or hurt Jackie more. I just tied her up. And then from there on, we had good matches. You know? But we got caught in the middle of some really sick shit when you think about it.
Right. Well, the results have, you know, you wrestled at Missile Coliseum against her. And then the results show that you guys went to Louisville the next day. You worked Bullpain there. And then Thursday
we worked
night,
all the towns. Week, we worked all the towns. And then, you know how the TV was a week behind?
Yes.
So we worked the other part of the towns the next week. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, we would go to the spot shows and work each other. Now, here's the thing. I was told you, I was torn with the whole, my own integrity. You know what I'm saying? At the time.
Right.
But here we are, the second night in Louisville. Paul Neighbors is there, and the house is up by 33 1/3%. And Paul came in and said, it's got to be said, everybody tonight's pay is going to be off, and you got to thank Randy and Jacqueline because the houses are up this week and we're all making more. So I said, shit, it got over.
Yeah, that had to get over because that Dragon Master was horrible.
Yeah. So then what happens is after that happened, and this is where the confusion comes in. I'm wrestling. I'm not kidding you. I'm wrestling 15 times a week, BT. I am leaving the building other than Memphis and Louisville, and I'm letting the fans see me leave at intermission. Then I'm coming back with a mask on, being driven by someone else wearing different clothes, carrying a different gym bag, going into the heel locker room as a goon.
Oh, wow.
I'm wrestling 15 times a week that second time. And, that was once on TV and then the house shows twice. Like on Saturdays, I'd wrestle 3 times sometimes. And it was really getting over. So that's where the results are wrong. I could go to a small town and maybe I work Miss Texas in the undercard because that town hadn't seen that yet, if it was a small town.
Right, right.
And then I'd come back into the building like Jonesboro, Arkansas, one of the best matches me and Gary as Goons ever had against Robert and Jeff. We sold 3,000 plus tickets to see the Goon Squad versus Robert and Jeff. So that's wrong because I would pop up as the Goon. I remember working with Brickhouse Brown when he came back as MC Slammer. I worked as a Goon against Brian Christopher when he was just a little guy with his original partner, that short built kid.
Yeah, Tony Williams, yeah.
Yeah, there's a time where I want to say there's a Knox, Indiana and a Knox, Kentucky. And when they said Knox on Wednesday night, Thursday, half the talent roster went to Knox, Indiana, where there wasn't a time change. And we're in Knox, Kentucky, where there is a time change. My friend, I had to work as myself, hoping the guys get there in time. I'm going 30 minutes in the opener with Tony Anthony, baby. Then I got to climb out the window and climb into the heel locker room, put on the Goon shit, and come out, work Robert Fuller for another 40 till the boys got there.
Oh, my God.
So that's what I mean. Like, I am grateful for that opportunity. Tom Prichard, he doesn't say much to me these days, but back in the day when he got hired for Vince and one of the first live Raws I worked with him and Candido, they asked for me. Tom was putting me over to everybody, but you should have seen this guy. And then during intermission, he'd sell hot dogs and programs.
I always say, there's if you want to be in professional wrestling, hey, I can get you in wrestling. There's always something to do: hot dogs, popcorn, programs.
Yeah.
But
No, I
that's
didn't
a
do
little
that.
too
I didn't
much.
really do that. He was just
I
saying that because I
know.
worked so hard.
But
I mean, I'm not kidding you. I would go an hour every other night. I would go an hour because when it comes to the others, the spot towns, Billy Dundee, he liked to work. He'd always be there. But Kingfish wouldn't show. So when Kingfish wouldn't show, who do you think's got to carry the undercard?
Right.
I worked 2 30-minute matches, maybe a match in between, sometimes no match in between. But I ate it like candy because I knew I was learning.
Yeah. Oh, that's a hell of a night after night after night is a hell of a way to learn, but it is one of the best ways. You're looking at, we talked about, I'm going to go over the roster real quick here in a minute.
Sure.
And you just tell me your thoughts on that person. But before we get,
okay,
you can shoot. It doesn't matter. What I want to know is, all 3 of us guys went, oh, when you got hit by Jackie that morning. Was she stiff on TV?
Oh yeah, of course she was stiff. Okay, here's something I got to tell you before we go any further in regards to that. Now that being said, I'm not a pussy.
Right.
I wouldn't call myself a tough guy, but tough guys have second thoughts about fighting me because they know they're going to get hurt. Because I can defend myself because I grew up getting the shit knocked out of me when I was a little guy. So she hit me and I was like, son of a bitch, but I could take it. But I carried myself so business-like and humble that not Kingfish, Jerry Jarrett called me in 1992 when he was going to take over for Vince when Vince was going to prison.
Right.
And he asked me if I would be willing to redo the Andy Kaufman gimmick for WWF. And he said, I know you can handle yourself.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I don't know, Jerry, I got a daughter now. well, you know, all bets were off because Vince didn't go to jail, but that's how it escalated. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't hurt Miss Jack. I never hurt her, but I could tie her up and I could take it, you know, to get it. With Jackie, you take it, but then you got to go through some. You see stars and shit, but then when you tie Jackie up, you know, I'm bigger than her. I just lean on her, you know.
Right, right.
But I know how to do that. I can fight and I can wrestle, and I've got martial arts background too.
Yeah, just as soon as we saw that, all three of us was like, damn, I feel sorry for this guy. And then I don't know if you remember, but I reached out to you years ago and I asked you something. I can't remember what it was. And you sent me a message right back. He was really, you know, real cordial and nice to me. I said, you know what? I think I don't know him, but I've talked to him before, and he was super nice. I said,
Oh,
y'all let
thank
me
you.
reach out to him and let him talk about his time during that 1991. Because what
Yeah.
we do on this podcast is we take a year, and now we're in 1991, and every week we watch a show, just like it was airing on Memphis TV on Saturday morning.
I'm
We
jealous you guys got the footage.
Well, yeah, it's 91's pretty good, but when you get to some of the other years, you just said something that some people may not be familiar with, but they had the Louisville show and all that where they bicycled. It was what they call bicycling.
Yep.
You only had an hour show, and they didn't show a lot of the Memphis stuff, so it's kind of tough. But 91, we got a lot of the stuff, and we're in. You know, I remember stuff, but I think me and you probably are similar to the same age. I'm 59.
Yeah, I'm
So,
60.
yeah, there's things that I remember, but I tell everyone I don't know what order they go in. What year did it happen in 91 or did it happen in 85? I don't know.
Yeah, that's me.
So I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but I'm going to go through some names that you just give me your first thoughts and this is the roster while you were there during, you talked about Miss Jackie. You could tell you were fond of her, even though.
Oh God, I love her. When I worked, I was the production manager for TNA, and it was friggin' awesome because, you know, I kept my head down, and these assholes didn't know I was a worker, but I'd have catering with Jackie, and everybody that would walk by, Tyson Tomko, the Dudleys, Samoa Joe, I'd go, Jackie, could you take him? And then these people would look at like, what the hell? Oh, but we laugh like hell. I just love her to death.
And we just come out of a period of time where they were at the Pipkins building, but you didn't go to the Pipkin building, did you? When you came back in, you went straight to the Mid-South Coliseum, right?
No, I forget where I worked, but they put me over 3 days in a row on Kong and or Leatherface to give me a rub. They put me over by DQ.
Right. Yeah, I saw some of that. All right, let's go through some names. Bull Payne, what was your thoughts?
Friggin' love him. Bull is one of the toughest guys. Man, that's when I really made my bones in this industry and got over with Steve Regal. Sam DeCero booked the show at the Berwyn Summer Fair. 7,500 people were there to see Bam Bam Bigelow. Well, Sammy never booked Bam Bam Bigelow, and he used the old excuse, oh, he missed his flight. So it turned into a six-man, myself, and no, I think it was, give me a second. It was myself, it was myself and the Terminators against the Texas Hangman and Steve Regal. They beat the shit out of me for 45 minutes, and we got over like a son of a bitch. That was the greatest match that could have happened to me. But Bull Payne is the one that came up and incepted the Texas Hangman.
Oh, so yeah, he was with the Texas Hangman. And you went to the Coliseum? They've got Goon #1 against Brickhouse as MC Slammer. Was that you that night?
That was me.
Oh, right on. Yeah. I a big fan. How about Brickhouse? Was he smooth in the ring? He looks really smooth.
The first time in, me and Sweet Daddy Falcone paired up with Brick and Reggie B.
Yeah.
And man, did we get along. We got along. We drove Sweet Daddy's little 3-cylinder Chevy Sprint. With all that meat in that little 3-cylinder, man, it really
I was fixing to say, how did all of y'all fit in that little car?
We not only did we fit in that car, but we were only spending $2 a day a piece for gas and splitting the oil changes. It was awesome. I love Brick and I love Reggie.
Awesome,
And
awesome.
Brick really loved me. He wanted me to get an electric guitar back then and start doing that Van Hammer thing. And he's like, man, I told you, that guy's not going to get over. He's the shits. You're not the shits. You'll get over.
All right, you talked about him a little bit earlier. What about Tom Prichard?
Love Tom Prichard. It was a strange time. Tom hadn't gotten sober yet. Tom wasn't an asshole, but Tom was very closed off. But you wanted to work with Tom because he'd have the best card of the night if he was in the opener or the main.
Just a hard worker, always him and Dirty White Boy. Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony. What was your thoughts on him?
Love Tony too. I remember the first time down, I was grateful that I got invited to Tony's 33rd birthday party. I thought, man, that's old. We used to team. They went through a lot of dirty white boys. Alex Porto, Jimmy Powell. So every time they would leave the territory over something, they'd team me and White Boy.
Yeah, I remember all those guys they were going through.
Yeah.
They had Randy Lewis as Lord Humongous, and we've give that guy so much hell on the podcast because he was not Lord Humongous. Our Lord Humongous was either Sid Vicious or Jeff Van Camp. So when
Randy guy was one hell of a nice guy. At the time, you got to remember, business was starting to decline.
Right.
So they were looking for anybody they could get in that had a body and see if there was anything there to work with lower to see if it would draw. He wasn't tall enough for that, and he was not seasoned enough for that. He got fired one day. I didn't do TV. Things started to change down there. You know, as Burt Prentice entered the area, right?
Yeah, that's why he was one of the names I'm going to ask you about. So, yeah, that was his. Christopher Love, that was actually his debut on Memphis Wrestling, was that day that you was there. Yeah.
So I run into Burt when I was a kid till I turned 30. You know there were predators in the industry. Any rumors you hear, magnify them by 10. Burt was in that unholy gaggle.
Yep.
And Burt used to try to bone me when I was working for Vern. Greg Gagne said, get away from him, you know. So that being said, I was cool with them. I never had any problems with, with gay or trans or any of that shit. That's their business.
Right.
One of my favorite guys in the industry was Ronnie P. Gossick. I love running the roads with Ronnie P. But anyway, so the problem, there was something there. Burt was bringing in an influx of money from somewhere because he was staying in a mansion, quote unquote, house sitting right next to Reba McEntire, and he brought in that goofy Randy Rhodes and Christopher Fontaine.
Yeah, we haven't seen any of that yet.
They're the shits. But there was a great angle you're going to run into with Ronnie P as a babyface at Jeff and Rob's corner. I won't spoil that.
I know.
Anyway,
they have already. I remember that angle, and we went back. I went on YouTube to look it up. My partner Gene Jackson had talked about that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look
back to Burt. Let me just.
Okay.
Let me finish that for you. Once I turned 30, Burt was a different guy with me. He didn't like him older. He liked him young. But there's a lot of things that I learned from Jarrett and I learned from Eddie Marlin because I was there and I listened. And you see, I was in recovery. I've been sober the whole time I've been in the industry while everybody else was out getting fucked up and doing stupid things. I was up Eddie's ass and I was up Jerry's ass. And you can ask anybody. I'm the first one at the building. So I had a lot of time to spend with Eddie because I wanted to learn this industry.
Right.
So Burt Prentice was a genius in promoting. Burt Prentice didn't know anything about booking. He didn't know nothing about writing, but he knew how to promote. He knew how to promote. And he was a genius, but he was a tortured soul. There's a borderline personality disorder there. There's a bipolar there, where all of a sudden he would get rolling. And I'll just talk about, I don't know if you remember in Nashville, Tennessee, it was my idea and I was behind it. He had Terry Taylor booking his stuff, and he had a tag team based on me. I put it together. Larry Zabisco and Terry Taylor would drive up from Atlanta to work with one of the kids I was training, Casey James.
That name's familiar too. I've seen Casey James before.
So It takes off, and all of a sudden Bert gets depressed and just stops doing what he's doing and owes everybody money. He couldn't
Oh wow.
help it. So we
Yeah.
kept getting over on each other. He would screw me, and I go, great. you know. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he'd call me and he'd send me one of the Harris boys for something, and he'd pay him because he screwed me. But it was a couple years later, you see. So the last time we went back and forth, I said, that's it. I'm done. We're finally even. I can't take the stress, so I backed off. But what a genius. He was just a tortured soul.
You know, he promoted a promotion right here in Jonesboro too, and was
Oh,
very
he promoted
successful.
everywhere.
Yeah,
That's what he
yeah.
does. Why did it fail? Everybody goes, what happened to it? Why did it fail? Bert got depressed, gave it up.
Oh wow.
It
Yeah.
was sad, man. I've seen him do it. I've seen him, the things he's done promotion-wise, to make ends meet. But then all of a sudden, as soon as he would get depressed, he would stop working, things would die off, and that's where he'd owe everybody and his mother's brother money. He stopped paying his bills.
Right, right. Yeah,
It was
that's
sad, man. It was a horrible thing. If he wasn't a predator, he would have really done something, been somewhere, you know?
right, right. All right, Bill Dundee. You talked about him a little bit. What was your thoughts on Dundee?
Dundee was friggin' great. I will always be grateful to Bill, the things he's done for me. One of the greatest things, and you can fact check this, before WWE got on USA, which, set the bar, they were talking to Jerry Jarrett and that conglomeration with the Von Erichs. Bill calls me up out of the blue before that 91 run and says, mate, are you free? You want to go to Dallas? You and me will be the top babyface team. Jeff will be the top babyface. And then we went down there and worked, and then that whole thing happened with the Von Erichs locking him out the second day.
Right, yeah.
Bill held me in real high regard, and Bill don't hold many in high regard, so I'll always appreciate and love him for that.
Yeah, I always tell a story about Bill. Me and Bill always had a weird relationship. I'd step in the dressing room. He'd say,
Every
"What are you?"
relationship with Bill is weird.
He said, "What are you doing here?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?" And blah blah blah. He'd give me hell all night.
Yeah.
And then when I got ready to leave, I'd get ready to leave. He'd say, "Hey, come here," and I would come over there, and he'd shake my hand. He goes, "Good to see you. I'll see you next time." And I would be like, I was a kid. I grew up watching Bill Dundee on TV.
Yeah.
He was like, he was like one of my idols. I'm thinking, why is this man giving me so much hell? But after
It
the
wasn't
years,
just you, brother. Bill
yeah,
was
he did
love-hate.
that to everybody. Yeah.
Bill
Danny
was love-hate.
Davis. Danny Davis. What was your thoughts on Danny Davis?
Some of the greatest shit, and I wish it was on film, was that best of 7 who goes to Japan, Danny Davis versus Bill Dundee. And they
Oh,
were
yes.
old guys. These kids today who think they're high flyers and innovators and luchadors, they ain't shit. You got to see those matches, man.
I really wish they were on tape. We've been talking. The guy that does the podcast with us, we have Gene Jackson. My other partner is Josh Briley. Danny Davis is his shoot uncle.
Okay.
So his grandma made lots of tights and stuff. If you ever went to Jackson, Tennessee and bought tights and stuff like that for yourself, you probably bought them from her. And
I usually got my gear from Joanne from Dallas.
No, okay. And Danny, the feud that they did with that was you took two baby faces and they ended. They're still baby faces, but just the idea that you had two pros in to work against each other like that. We actually tell a story that we don't know whether this is true or not, Randy. But in our mind, they were going down the road. And they were not using Dundee with anything. They weren't doing anything with Davis. And they said, hey, let's feud with each other. And they had some of the best TV we've seen the last 4 weeks has been, or 3 weeks has been Dundee and Davis.
You should have seen those two on the house shows. Danny was in his 40s. Bill was 52 years old. I know it. No, Bill was 54. Boogie was 52. Bill was older than Boogie because me and Boogie and Bill ran together. I love that. But when those guys were in it, let's say we went to Evansville. Evansville was usually a moderate draw. Well, I'll tell you, some nights when that Evansville was full, these effing kids will never see anything like the pace, the athleticism, and the innovation between a 54-year-old man and a 40-something-year-old man, Danny Davis. And like you said, they kept taking turns teasing who's going to turn, who's going to turn. And people were watching say, who's going to turn, who's going to turn. Nobody turned.
Right.
It was brilliant, and that carried the undercard. That carried the solid undercard, man. It kept the undercard solid so Kingfish could just come in and do his 12 minutes.
I think it's funny because we ask the question at the end of every show. We go, Gene, the main host, he'll say, all right, guys, would y'all go to the Coliseum? And me and Josh both say, well, we really want to see Dundee against Davis. The other matches, we don't know whether we want to see them or not, but we really want to see that. So, yeah, if somebody's taking us at the time.
Yeah, it was something, brother.
What about Jeff Jarrett?
Love him. The only thing I don't love about Jeff is, when you get your notice, anybody, whoever the hell it was The Undertaker, it was Steve Austin, you work with Jeff the last week and he pins you with a drop kick. That's it.
Oh, wow.
But that's not so bad. But the mother effer would kick you. He would split your lips every night with that damn drop kick right in the lips. And I brought it up to him not too long ago because we still talk. And he's like, maybe it was a guilty pleasure. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we had seen him just start swinging chairs, and he just went 1 week. He just decided he wanted to start swinging chairs. I messaged him too and said, "Hey, man, what was it about?" He goes, "I was just learning. We just going with the flow kind of thing." All right, what about the stud, Robert Fuller?
I love the stud. He loves me and he hates me because he said, son, my mama says you saved my life. So he loves me for that and he hates me for that. But I will always love the stud. I learned so much from Boogie, Stud, and Dundee. I'm in the best possible spot I could be in because of those men and the others I mentioned from Memphis. I know this business. I run weekly tapings up here in Rockford, Illinois.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you were still in the business.
Yeah, we run weekly tapings and I train these guys. And we are standing room only the last 9 weeks in a row with no money to promote.
You're doing something right,
I'm doing Memphis. No, I'm real good at taking that Memphis stuff and bringing it up to date for 2026, and it pays off.
Onita went to Japan and did Memphis stuff. It was something that when you grow up watching Memphis, there's so many areas. So many small promotions in this area. Back in the day, you'd call them outlaw promotions. But they all, everyone grew up. We have a new Memphis wrestling that's been going for 5 years, and it is all because of USWA, CWA. All those guys grew up watching Memphis.
Well, look at Louisville, what Danny built and Jim Corney built. Because Tuesday nights was for wrestling in Louisville.
Yeah, he did it, and just I've always tell the story about Danny Davis. He was the gimmicks king. He knew exactly what to do. He knew how to sell gimmicks. He bought a t-shirt. He bought a t-shirt machine so he could make shirts for everybody. This guy was going to make some money no matter what. So
too smart.
What about the king, Jerry Lawler? Was he good to you?
No. When I first broke in, my first night in was me and Tony Anthony against Ben Jordan, and his first match is somebody else that was an enhancement match. And Ben was Bill's first student out of his training academy, and Bill said, "Hey, mate, since I brung you in, will you give my kid a spot?" So I gave him a spot in the match. Then I called the spot where I slammed Ben on the floor, and then I gave him a splat, leg drop, right in front of the camera. Everybody went crazy for it. Even Jerry Jarrett went crazy for it. And I'm driving all the way from Memphis to Louisville the next day by myself, thinking I might make it in this business. I walk into Louisville and everybody's come up, including Jerry. Hell, son, that was some great stuff this morning. Boy, did you light up the crowd. All of a sudden, Jerry Lawler gets there and says, "That was the effing shits, and you set this business back 50 years, and you should kill yourself."
Oh,
you want to know why? The leg drop was great. I slammed Ben like I was laying a baby into the crib. Kingfish was right.
Yeah. That's
so he made it his. And then on top of that, Paula said, "Who's that youngster today on TV? He's just adorable." So then,
Paula
fast
thought you
forward,
was adorable, so you
yeah,
was on the shit list after
yeah.
that, huh?
But the second run that night I was telling you about when we were in Jonesboro and it was sold out or damn near sold out and that goon stuff, we came back and me and Gary were just breathing our ass off because they were working our asses off. And it was my second time working that night. And I'm laying up against the bench in the locker room before I take my mask off trying to get my breath. Jerry comes over and says, "That was one hell of a match, especially you." I take the mask off. He puts his hand out and says, "I apologize for anything I've ever said derogatory about you. My God." And then I
Oh
said,
wow.
"Kingfish, there's no need to apologize. You were right." Well, fast forward when when Cat got fired from WWE and he quit, I had him booked that night to work for me. I was his first indie shot that him and the Cat took. Got him on the Man Cow show, which started a big lawsuit, which got Kingfish back with WWE. So he loves me. He writes about me in the book and everything. We became really good friends, but he was right. He was right. I
Right,
slammed that
right.
guy like a pussy. you
All
know,
right, I got one last name, and then we'll call it quits. I do
sure.
want to thank you for coming on here and talking to someone you didn't even know, and I appreciate you sharing your knowledge and everything about the business. It's
Don't
fun to
think I
listen.
don't know you. I know you. You want to know how I know you? Because of
Oh,
the fact that you caught that angle and are buying it in 2026. So don't tell me. I know all I need to know about you, and you love this industry and respect it. That's all I need to know.
I do appreciate that. The last name in this name gets all kinds of different reactions. The
I
name
can't
I'm
wait.
fixing to say, you either love this guy, you hate this guy. He was either a great worker. Dutch Mantel says he was a great worker. We loved his booking at the very beginning of this year in 91. And then we can notice Lawler trying to take, or Jarrett trying to take over the book, and all the monsters show up and everything. But tell me your thoughts on Eric Embry.
A effing genius.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Uh, he is one of those guys, and he is just like Jerry the King Lawler. You got to earn their respect. You know, what Eric was doing was working, but you hit the nail on the head. It's a physical law that two bodies can't, it can't be in the same place, the same spot, right? So they were finally accepting the fact that they weren't going to sell out and turn people away anymore on Monday nights. Okay.
Right, right. And they went to the smaller building. He was there for all that
Yeah.
stuff for the smaller building. Yeah.
But it was about money. And that's what finally happened with me is Jerry had huge plans for me. And I just got over with Eric. I just got over with Eric. Well, Eric was going away for 2 weeks and Jerry was going on vacation for 2 weeks. And I only had 3 days on the books and I was guaranteed something, you know? And I said, "What am I supposed to do for 2 weeks, fellas?" "Well, why don't you go up and see if Dale Mann," we'll call him before I go, "You told me last time I was here I'm not a wrestler if I work for that guy. Now you want me to
Right.
go work
Dale
there?"
Mann was considered one of the outlaw guys. Everybody
Yeah.
worked for Dale Mann, by the way. They'll say
Yeah.
they did, but they did.
Yeah, so I had to come to terms with, am I going to ride this out or am I going to go home? Maybe I should go home because if I stay here, they're going to think I'm a mark and never respect me, you
Right,
know?
right.
So as I'm packing up all my gear, I go, "Yeah, and screw them. I'm taking the goon outfits with me." So as I'm leaving, Miss Anita from Memphis was calling Tina from Nashville to say that Chris Von Erich had just blown his brains out.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
I cried almost all the way home. I drove the 8 hours back and said to Jerry, "Call me when you got something." Well, I'll be damned. That was the end of the territory because they were running 3 nights a week. They could only pay $30 a night.
Yeah, it was bad. I was
Yeah.
listening to some older stuff. I got some cassettes where they were putting out before podcasts, way before 1992.
Yeah.
They were putting it, and they were talking about the guys not making any money whatsoever. I
There
think
was no money to be had.
no. I think
But
you
Eric
get Randy.
Embry, I'm gonna go on record right now
All
and
right.
say Eric Embry was Eric Embry and Dutch Mantel are probably two of the greatest minds in the wrestling industry still alive today, along with Bushwhacker Luke. And if you look, all three of those guys did huge business in Puerto Rico as bookers and talent.
Dutch is a friend of mine, and I
Oh,
consider him one of my mentors. I mean,
Yeah.
here's how I met Dutch. We had a mutual friend. The mutual friend brought Dutch to my house one day here in Jonesboro, knocked on the door and said, "Here, take care of him for the next 2 hours. Take him to
Yeah.
the wrestling." And
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got Dutch, I've got Dutch Mantell here, and we just talk wrestling. And he would, I have this. I knew the Undertaker before he was Undertaker. He didn't have any
Yeah.
tattoos. We have pictures we took, and everybody jokes around with me because I made the statement that I fed him pizza, which I meant to say we ate a pizza. And my friends say, "Well, you fed Undertaker pizza? You were actually
no.
feeding?"
Did you fan him too? Yeah, I know what you mean. No, Mark's good people, but I'll tell you, I'm one of those guys I don't get any accolades at all. But anyway, I've been there, done that with a lot of folks, and I'll take that over everybody knowing my name. Me and Dutch Mantell incepted the knockouts at TNA. We sat down and went back and forth and decided it was better to ask for forgiveness and permission. And damn it, we changed women's wrestling.
Yeah. We'll need to bring you on and talk about some of your TNA stuff some other time. But hey,
Yeah.
thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for joining us
Could you
today.
company over Premier Pro
Yes,
Wrestling.
you put it over. Tell me,
Yes.
tell my listeners everything about it.
Sure. We're Premier Pro Wrestling. Please go to our YouTube channel and go back, because we got a new talent roster we're rebuilding with now. But I've gotten, since we started Premier Pro Wrestling, 6 people WWE NXT tryouts, but I also got Kalisto hired, one of the Lucha Dragons.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you'll see it's a lot of stuff you might recognize, but the faces are different and the moveset's a little different. But I know what I know. Wrestling gets over.
Yep. I mean, if it's done right, you can get fans in the building if you can get someone over as a baby face and some good heels. So there you go. So we got everything there. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I'm glad we talked. I feel good about this one.
Same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. USWA, the Retro Wrestling Review, USWA podcast. This is an extension of that, but also an extension of my shooting the shiznit. Y'all have a fantastic day. As I said, same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. And as everyone knows this by now, I love my mama.